All right. Welcome, welcome. So excited to be here today. This is the last interview in this 4-part series of interviewing the guest experts who are facilitating at the upcoming Holy Woman Coronation Retreat in Los Angeles in April. So far we've had some beautiful conversations with the facilitators for 3 out of the 4 archetypes that we explore in the Holy Woman Coronation Retreat. So the 4 archetypes are correlated with the seasons of winter and spring. So if you haven't seen those interviews, feel free to go back and check them out. The winter archetypes are the surrendered submissive, and we completed an interview, Facebook chat with that. And today we have the second archetype for the winter season, which is the visionary enchantress. I know, I love those words. And so she is a visionary. She is enchanting. She is really connected to the truth of her being. And when I say being, I mean that like her highest spiritual dharma and purpose, but also connected to her humanity and her body and actually making it real in this world, right?
It reminds me of a combination between the high priestess and the empress in tarot, right?
Ooh, I love that.
Because the high priestess is the visionary. She trusts her intuition. She comes from a lineage of wise medicine women. She's standing next to the masculine in that spiritual union. And then we have the empress, who of course is the queen of all queens and sits in that very stable, grounded place of manifestation, where you have the abundance that you need, whatever that looks like to you in terms of the abundance of, those things that make you feel secure and healthy and happy. So we don't have to choose between the two of them. They can live together.
Yes, that's the visionary enchantress. It's so funny that you mentioned those. I'm actually not that familiar with tarot. I mean, I know of it, but I'm not familiar with the cards. And 2 of the archetypes for the autumn season are actually, I'm sorry, one of the archetypes for summer is the entitled empress, which is all about living large, bougie, like the conscious entitlement, I'll call it, where she just indulges.
Well, I need to go on that retreat in Bali because that's going to make me my best self.
Yeah. Right. She says yes to herself. That's right.
Yes,
and then
self-care.
The autumn archetype is one of them is the priestess. It's so interesting that you mentioned those 2. So we do, we're actually going to do embodiment work with those particular archetypes and their unique expression in the fall retreat. But I just love that was brought in. That's cool. So the visionary enchantress, and welcome, Kristen. Kristen is a shamanic intuitive and ceremonialist. Such beautiful work that she does in the world. And so I'm so excited that she's going to be facilitating the women attending this retreat and connecting to their own expression of the visionary enchantress and connecting to their intuition and how the truth lives in their body, how to hear the truth coming through the divine, whatever word you use for the divine, and allowing the truth and these messages from the divine to guide their next right step with the desires that they want to make manifest in their life, right? So what is, like, a lot of people have different ideas about intuition, but could you speak to like how you define intuition and how that shows up in the body? What are some practices people might recognize they're already connected to their intuition, even if they didn't know that's what it was called?
Yeah, we all have it. I mean, these gifts and abilities, we all have these gifts and abilities. And some of us, or some people, are just born with it being a little bit more obvious than other people. And that's really it. We can all train and work with and enhance and become better with working with any of our gifts, any of the clairs. I remember in one of my my Reiki 1-2, the first time I did it, we talked about the clairs and clairvoyant, clairsentient, the clair, and we all have got them. And some of us have some of us have the knowingness, like the clairsentience. Some people see things. Some people, that's the clairaudience, hear things. But you can develop all of them, and you can get curious and explore with them. So if feel like, well, I don't really feel like I have any of them, you can kind of get curious and play little by little. Okay, I'm gonna, what do I really see when I look at that? You'd be surprised at how subtle. The other day I said to a girlfriend of mine, I don't get visions as much. And we were just talking about that. And then all of a sudden, we were staring at each other. Well, we were staring at each other. We were looking at each other. We were drinking beers and eating tacos is actually what we were doing. We were looking,
So you're looking at each other, okay.
we're looking at each other. We're staring at each other deeply. Yeah. We're looking at each other across the table, drinking beers and tacos. And all of a sudden, I saw her true nature, which is the mermaid, embodying mermaid energy. And then all of a sudden, I saw her at 75. And it was really subtle because she was still as beautiful. We're both in our mid 40s. And she didn't look that different, which would not surprise me, knowing my friend Renee. She's so gorgeous. But I literally saw this moment, this quality of her being 75 and the two of us sitting together, drinking beers. And I said, oh my God, I just saw us at 75 and we're still drinking beers. And we just started laughing because we know that probably would be the case.
I love that.
275-year-olds sitting at a bar. So, but it was very subtle the way it happened. It wasn't like a burn or a big dramatic moment. And I think often people do feel it's this big dramatic moment. And if it's not this big dramatic moment and this huge thing, and I saw this guy on Oprah who was a clairaudient and he speaks to the dead, and that's all true too.
Yeah, it can manifest in different ways. I think that's good to speak to.
But I think there's a lot of us out there where it's just very subtle and we just need to be open to it and be open to the nuances of what our intuition.
Absolutely. And from what I've heard and understand, is that clairsentience is one of the most popular ones, or most common, maybe that's the more accurate word.
Right.
That we don't have to make any meaning about that, but that it just happens to be more common. And so for me, clairsentience, it's just like an inner knowing, like you just like, I don't know why, but that I feel like a yes to that opportunity, or I feel like a no, and it might not logically make sense. And so one of the ways that for me with that clairsentience is, for me, I feel like the presence of like energy movement. And I know that sounds vague, but there's like an impulse to maybe my body wants to move forward if it's a yes.
I was going to say, do you feel it? It's like, it's a body awareness, but it's not like you're feeling it in a particular place in the body. It's almost like a full body sort of knowing.
It's a full like a general, it's hard to explain, isn't it? Like here's a great example. I'm actually
the most
pregnant.
Common, and it's the hardest one to talk about and explain.
Right, because you just have to feel it, and then you'll know.
You kind of want to toss it off like, oh, am I just imagining that?
Right.
I can't explain it. I can't prove it. I don't have
It's just annoying. But one of the examples I was going to give is that I'm pregnant right now and I'm 4 months. Which is really exciting.
Yes.
And I just told the Facebook world. I haven't told Facebook yet, so now Facebook knows. Anyway, but it's just like the one that came to my mind right now because it was really recent. And so I, I'll just be upfront. So like, when I first conceived, or even before I conceived, I would think of like a baby girl. I think that's common for women because, I'm a woman. So a daughter, there's something special about that. But then, as I've gone along in this pregnancy, and it took some time to actually feel connected to this being for me personally. Right. But in the last 3 weeks or month or so I have, and I would just ask my body, just feeling, kind of almost having a conversation with my body. Are you a girl? Are you a boy? And when I asked boy, I had that energy movement feeling like it's like like if you pay attention to like the impulse, like for me, I love ice cream. So if somebody asks me if I want ice cream, generally my body feels the same way. I get this like forward feeling, like my body wants to move forward, or my energy starts circling. And that was the feeling I got. And then when I asked, are you a girl? It was just kind of like dead silent. Neutral.
That is the perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah. And we actually did, and this is cool. I can add this, Kristen, because the women coming to the retreat are going to experience explore this, I worked with a friend using a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
So using pendulum for divination, which is
Mm-hmm.
a one way of confirming these impulses we feel in the body. This and so we used the pendulum, and my
Right.
friend did it on her own. She didn't,
Right.
she told me at the end, but it confirmed what I felt. She
Mm-hmm.
got yes for boy and no for girl, and we actually just found out 2 days ago, confirmed it's a little boy. So
Oh my
there
gosh.
you go.
So,
So I felt it, the pendulum affirmed it, and here we
right.
are. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that is just the perfect example of
Hmm.
and how to go about doing it too,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because first you connect to the body,
Hmm.
you ask yourself questions, and you let the answers. It's almost like letting the answers come through the heart as
Exactly.
opposed through the mind,
Mind.
right?
Oh yeah, the mind, you just get tripped up.
So letting those questions answer and feeling them through the heart, but then using a pendulum,
Hmm.
body muscle testing,
Hmm.
kinesthesiology.
Hmm.
These are all things that you can kind of do to also
Hmm.
ask and play with. You
Exactly.
know? Yeah,
So fun.
using a tarot card, using oracle cards.
Hmm.
There are yes no things you can look up on the internet, yes no oracles, where
Mm.
literally you can feel into it, click your computer, and it will say yes or no to any question.
Cool. I didn't know about that. That's neat. So it's
Yeah.
so fun to play with this and start to
Yes.
experiment and get to know what this feels like. And so another piece about this that I've discovered is that the less noise
Mm-hmm.
that my mind and like concerns and considerations and preferences and logic and reasonableness, all that stuff of the mind, the more I can kind of just let that be and drop into a place that feels trusting and receptive, which is why the visionary enchantress comes after the surrendered submissive, by the way, because the
Mm-hmm.
surrendered submissive drops us into that deep receptive place.
Right.
um, there's an opportunity to hear these messages more clearly as opposed to the
Mm-hmm.
static of all that noise. So could you speak, Kristen, to like some of the work we're going to do in the retreat? We don't have to get into the very specifics, but we're going to work with the energy body and the chakras to
Mm-hmm.
create more coherence
Yeah.
or a more cleaner channel or receptor antenna
Mm-hmm.
to receive messages. Could you maybe speak to
Mm-hmm.
that and your experience with that?
Well, that's so beautiful that it's coming after surrendering, because it's like you're dropping into the portal of the mystery and free
Hmm.
falling in your intuition.
That's right.
I'm going to be playing with everyone with something I have designed called Chakra Wisdom Embodiment, A Journey with Rose.
Mm.
And because of the nature of the retreat, I felt it's very important to not just learn about the chakras intellectually or hear about them, but to actually drop into each
Yes.
chakra. So we'll be doing a grounding meditation, and I will be blessing the space with Veviter root. Now,
Mm.
Veviter root, what I love about Veviter is it's a root that doesn't spread out. It spreads down, and
Ooh.
it's very calming to the nervous
That's
system. It's very calming.
powerful.
So yes. So depending on how many people are there, I might, and if as long as people are okay with it, maybe even a little bit on the bottom of everybody's feet. There's a
Mhm.
place in Chinese medicine called, I think it's the K1 point, right sort of on the bottom of the second toe.
Mm,
If you
mhm,
go
mhm.
a
I'm
little bit
familiar.
down,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that
Mhm.
will calms things down, but also to kind of like to take you down into the earth, really rooted into the
Mhm.
earth.
Ooh, and I love that connection to the earth, especially as women and like
Yes.
Mother Earth and our umbilical can like reach down into the roots of Mother Earth herself. Beautiful.
Yes, it's like because the heart is a wonderful place for everyone to meet up.
Mhm.
but then to go down in passing, going into your solar plexus, into the womb, passing into the womb, passing into the root, touching all of these chakra points, getting them, trying to get them to spin sort of in alignment, and just touch base with them a little bit, because we don't on a daily basis always, and ground into the earth a little together. And then I'll be bringing a little rose elixir for everyone. I work with plant and flower essences.
I love that.
I'm creating an elixir based on the elements, a rose that I'm collecting in each element, and I'll have spring literally right before the workshop. So summer is intimacy, the fall was ecstasy, the winter was reciprocity, and spring is still unknown. So you'll have to come to the workshop and find out.
Woo! Fun mystery.
But I'm going to put them together in a little elixir, and it'll be gifted to everyone. But I'm also going to put the vibration of San Pedro cactus flower, which I call surrender. So I think it's wonderful because it's that surrender coming in.
Perfect.
And the rose, of course, is the epitome of sensuality. It's Mary Magdalene, who is the divine, who is the partner of the divine, right? It's not, right. I mean, Mother Mary is also the rose, and that divine mother energy is so important, but it's the divine partner. Right?
Because we talk about desire, and that's, desire is an alchemical marriage of the sacred feminine and the masculine.
and the divine masculine, right? So after a meditation, we'll all ceremonially take rose together, and then I would love to drop into some more embodiment and moving around the body with the chakras. So we're getting up and we're moving, and I just want to let anybody know who would come to the workshop that you can be at the place where you're at with movement and touching of the body. So some people, they're really into it and they can really move the pelvis and they're very comfortable. If all you're comfortable with is doing this, and I'm just gonna, there's a place for everybody and where you are, and there's no comparison.
That's right. I love that.
And as a sisterhood circle, because when women come together and create a circle, we're repairing the sisterhood wound.
So much happening in this retreat with that.
Those broken places in the circle. So there is room for you wherever you are in that. And just knowing that the woman who's maybe at that, she is giving you that healing. So maybe
and permission,
and the permission and the love of who you are right now.
Love that. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And I love, because in addition to the sisterhood reparation and witnessing each other and providing that permission, I know you mentioned we're going to do some paired work too. So it's going to be an opportunity for intimacy with self, which is always where we start. And then that allows us to create intimacy with other and the other sisters and sisterhood and paired work. So that's exciting.
And that's what the Summer Rose element is all about. It's the intimacy of the self so that we can have intimacy with others and intimacy in family and friends. And I have found that when we can really be intimate with the sisters, it really informs and helps the intimacy with the romantic and the more physical intimacy.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
This isn't talked about enough, but it's like, it's done quantum leaps to my marriage of our connection, because my nourishment, I am so nourished by sisterhood now that I was malnourished before.
We're not looking for everything from this one relationship with this one person. It's like I have a community. And everybody's, I mean, I had this light bulb moment not that long ago, where I was like, oh my God, now that my friendships with women have gotten better over the past several years, talk about codependency, talk about being used. When I fixed that, now I'm like, oh, I see that in men. And so whether you're coming to the retreat single, with somebody you're just dating, whether you're in a partnered, whether you're married, whether it's long term, whether you just got to there's a place to explore that, right?
Oh, totally.
Right?
Absolutely. That's so beautiful.
And then we can move into some of the paired work where I
Mhm.
know that you're going to be getting, everyone gets a pendulum or they're going to have pendulums. So we're just
Mhm.
going to go over the chakras from behind, what the
Mhm.
meaning of them from from the back of the chakras as opposed to the front of the chakras. And when you see the
Mm.
back is coming in from your past to present,
Ooh, I love
present
that.
to the future, going over, everyone will be given a paper with the chakras, the chakra meaning, pencil. We can go over for each other how to use the
Mhm.
pendulum on every
Mhm.
single one of your chakras
Mhm.
to see
Mhm.
where they are, to
Mhm.
see is it moving in a beautiful circle? Is it kind of going
Monkey.
where the chakras are, and then do it with each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we can write everything down so that you can take with you
Yeah.
what the results were. We can have some integration at the end where
Mhm.
everybody can share um,
Yes.
what they got, and we can
Perfect.
have a chat about it, and as a circle, so it's not just me spewing out everything. As like, of course we'll be able to talk about it, but as a circle we can share the insights
Yes.
so that what one pair did and what one person experienced can help everybody in the circle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And community is
Yeah.
so important, learning from each other.
Yeah.
And lastly, really the opportunity of working with the energy body and the chakras is to become more of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Is to clean up any wounds that need healing, or behaviors that are expired, or identities that are expired that have served their purpose. All these pieces, right? And so, but we're doing it in a little bit more of a um, energetic way than
Mm-hmm.
cerebral way. There's different ways you can play with this, more cerebral and
Yeah.
cognitively, and that's beautiful. I love those practices, and this is more of an energetic practice, which is really, really
Right.
sweet and beautiful.
And we
um,
want to bring it into the body, right? Because it's all about connecting to the body in a healthy way.
mhm. That's right.
You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then with that coherence and that being more who we actually are, we
Mm-hmm.
start to get shinier and brighter
Mm-hmm.
and more luminous. And this is actually what supports us in our desires, and like the truest desires that are wanting to move through our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and like the things that we would love to have, whether it's a new home, or if it is more abundance financially, or having a baby, or
Mm-hmm.
a new love, or transforming your marriage, like whatever it is that's on your heart.
Yeah.
We're able to really manifest that when we become more of who we are. And so that's really what this work
Yes.
serves.
Yeah. And really resourcing and strengthening the heart so that having the trust and faith in ourselves,
Hmm.
in regards to everything that you were just saying,
Yeah.
to have
And
that
yep.
true body trust.
Mm,
Because it's easy to be like, oh, I trust myself up here, but
hmm.
to trust it in here.
In a really deep,
Yeah.
embodied way, right? It's just the way to
Yeah.
say it. That, and also trusting that something has our back, like a
Yeah.
higher power, because that's another thing. Like sometimes we'll have so much trust in ourselves, we can put pressure. Like, I'm the only one who can make this happen, versus it's like a co-creation of our desires are always co-created. It's like me following the impulse of my truth. What's the next right step? Being
Right.
and doing so because I am working on my coherence and my vessel, and cleaning it up, and tuning up the chakras and all those pieces. And then
Right.
also, so that piece, being responsible for my own sovereignty, and also, sometimes we can just be like, and I know that you've got it too. Like, I don't have to
Yeah.
do everything here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Spirit
Hmm.
has your back. And the more that you
Hmm.
connect with spirit and the plant intelligence, nature intelligence,
Oh, I love that we're using plants too, because yes.
and
Yeah.
it's that really we have a lot
Hmm.
of resource, and to know that
Hmm.
there's a lot of abundance around that we're
Hmm.
not, I
Hmm.
mean, myself
Hmm.
included, not tapping into
Hmm.
on a daily basis. And so we can
Hmm.
tap into the nature intelligence, plant intelligence,
Hmm.
connect with spirit, and we're all going to have different ways. Some people are really into angels, some people love our power animals, some people,
Hmm.
but it's all of the same fabric, right?
Hmm.
Which is
Hmm.
higher
Yep.
source energy and
That's
usable
right.
life force energy, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So beautiful. And I think the last thing that jumped out for me to share too is is the visionary enchantress also in developing her faculty with her own energetic body, coherence, sovereignty, and then making relationship with the natural world, with the plant allies, with the earth, with the
Yes.
elements, with the spirit world, right? So some of it's more tangible and some's less tangible. But that
Yes.
being said, so there's like these relationships to create with the natural and the spiritual world,
Right.
relationships with self and our own
Mhm.
body, soma, and energy body. There's so many pieces here. Um,
Right.
with all of those pieces, there's also a reverence because there can be a
Mhm.
tendency,
Mhm.
I'll speak for myself,
Mhm.
to pull on or try to manipulate or extract from
Mhm.
myself, or like force something or demand
Mhm.
something, or like extractive. It feels like
Well, it's
it's
like when
not
you
as
do
reverential as it could be.
when you do candle magic for your ex to come back over and over and over and over again, and that they break up with the new I mean,
Right.
that's just like, you know what I mean? And to try to force things,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is,
Yep.
and being able to accept where you are in the present, and divine timing, because it doesn't mean that you're not going to get that new house or your new job or a new love, but it could be that there might be some work to be done before the greatest, most highest expression of that happens. I know
Right.
for me, if I would have tried to marry certain people, it
Yeah.
it wouldn't be as good as what I would look for now.
Yeah. So there's a humility to it. There's a reverence to it. That surrender piece, as opposed
Yeah.
to using it to try to control something or get something.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
that can be tricky, right? And so it's always,
Fine line there.
yeah, yeah. And we have to be responsible with ourselves, because it's not about controlling other people or trying to manipulate or control. Um, that's not what real manifestation,
Right. And
really
I think people don't necessarily consciously think they're doing it. They're not like, I'm going to go like, but it kind of sneaks in there when that's why the practice that we do, it's so ceremonial. There's something so sacred because
right.
there's something humility to it
Yeah.
that I think that people maybe don't realize or forget about. And so, yeah, that's
It's always
important.
like, asking if it's for the greater good of everyone. You know, I had when I first started getting into spirituality in a much deeper way, I was getting a lot of Akashic record readings, and I
Mm.
was going to this older woman who was a medium and a psychic and an amazing Akashic record reader, and she'd always say, just is it for the highest good
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
everybody involved? And that can be a
Mhm.
really hard question to ask and answer. It's like, yeah, but I really want that person or
Mhm.
this thing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so it's about the reverence, the humility, and being
Yep.
gentle with yourself. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with wanting any of the things that we want. Usually it's coming
That's
from
right.
a place of wanting to
Right.
have love or abundance, and
Sure.
how can
There's
I
an
look
innocence at the bottom of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think, you know, to be visionary, right? To be the visionary enchantress
Mhm.
that's also fully grounded on
Mhm.
earth and
Mhm.
manifesting here.
Mhm.
What can
Mhm.
grow here on earth? It's not just so there's a lot of when you watch stuff on social media, there's a lot of great things on social media for spirituality and all of this. But there's a lot of like twin flame stuff, and it's the same
Mhm.
thing for like whether you want to do a job or whatever, about, oh, but we're in the 5D, we're together and it's awesome, and that's
Mhm.
great, and I'm not trying to put
Mhm.
that down, and it's
Mhm.
wonderful, but we want to manifest here on earth.
Right. It's acknowledging here.
It was not, and yeah, you can
Yeah.
be with that person or that thing and it's on
Mhm.
5D, but how to really be a visionary who manifests
Mhm.
here on earth, because earth is a
That's
beautiful place to be.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. I love that. So yeah, I love that she's really in service to the truth. That's
Yeah.
really ultimately what it is. She's listening,
Yeah.
always listening and checking in. Is this true? Is
Yeah.
this the deeper thing?
And there's no need to wait. You don't have to wait. Oh, well, when all of these things come together,
Mhm.
there are things that you can manifest now. You can baby
Mhm.
step, and it may not
Mhm.
be the biggest thing you want. I
Sure.
mean, raising my own hand, but what can I manifest today, tomorrow,
Mhm.
next week, next month? What
Mhm.
can I do this year? It may not
Mhm.
be the full thing I want, but
What's the
where do I
next right
want to
step?
go? That's going to
Yep.
in 3 years get there, right?
Yeah.
And
What's
still
of
enjoy
service right now?
what can I be in service of right now that's going to still make me happy,
Mhm. Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Kristen. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. And I'm so excited for the women who are already a yes
Oh,
to this
good.
retreat. Oh, it's going to be a really, really delicious event. And for those tuning in, it's also, an opportunity to be on vacation as well. We're going to be at an all-inclusive, beautiful Airbnb with a pool and a hot tub. And so it's definitely an oasis. And there will be some luxurious time to just be and float
Mhm.
if that's what's calling to you. And also time to drop into these really deep portals with these 4 archetypes that we're exploring. And so I'm just so excited. We have such great facilitators, such a treat. Thanks again, Kristen, for joining us today and sharing your magic and medicine with us.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate being able to
Mm-hmm.
be a part of your work and everything that you're giving out. And it's so
Thank
exciting.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just going to pause it right here. Oh, and for those, sorry, I'll say one more thing. So if you're interested in joining, how do we do that?
Ah,
You can
yes.
check out the comment section. The comment section will have the link to join us. If you sign up with a friend, then you receive an additional $250 discount. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments or you can message me privately. I'm more than happy to circle back and answer any of your questions that might have arisen from listening to our conversation. Yeah. And so if you're feeling any part of your being that's like, I want to know, I want to be able to hear the truth more. I
Mhm.
notice I get confused or life isn't going the way I want it to go. And I feel like I could be supported by learning how to listen a little deeper or clean up my energy body a little more.
Mhm.
Then I encourage you to follow that voice, that impulse. That's your intuition talking, by the way, and join us in April. So you can check out the details in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks again, Kristen, and we'll see you next time.